Well, hello, Jeff Schiavone, Scout Executive of the Miami Valley Council, coming at you today with a special episode of Keep the Flame. And today, really excited to have Richelle Zbinden, Scoutmaster of Troop 5268 out of Huber Heights. And Richelle's done a wonderful job being creative during our distance scouting period and coming up with ways with keeping her scouts connected. So, Richelle, welcome and hello today. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Well,
This will be a fun conversation, I'm sure.
Exactly. Well, and I see you have some wonderful outdoors, hopeful scenes behind you.
Yes, the coronavirus does not exist here. I hope.
That's right. Right. How are you doing? First of all, how are you doing so far holding up personally?
You're doing pretty well. I have two kids here at home. I have a sixth grader and a freshman, so they have their own schedule. And being a teacher, we have had a schedule since we found out that they would not be going to school. So they've had to be up by 9 a.m. and dressed and eat breakfast. And then we've chunked out times where it's academic, creative time, chore time, home project time, and then they circle back and do a couple more academics. And then after dinner, it's free time. So
Nice.
I tried to keep them kind of in the school mentality of a schedule, and that has helped tremendously with our household.
Well, I find out that to be the same way here, and just trying to create a cadence, a new rhythm is real important. And it sounds like you're doing some of that with your own scouting program, and your troop has been famous recently in our Friends of Scouting video. And if you haven't seen our Friends of Scouting video, these are the gals here.
That's them. Yep. We got a couple more when they crossed over, so they're up to 10. But yep, that's them.
Awesome. Well, we're real excited. They've done a great job, and you're doing a great job as well. And what are some of the things you're doing right now during this distance scouting period? We have talked to a lot of our unit leaders. We see a lot of them just sort of pausing. Others are doing some creative things as well, and I guess there's space for both. But what have you decided to do to keep your scouts connected and keep the flame going right now?
Well, we had a committee leadership meeting over the weekend to kind of broach that topic. We used the platform of Zoom to talk with each other and kind of try it out on our own. We had also tried Google Hangouts, and we even tried Facebook Live, and each of them had their pluses and minuses depending on our purpose. And we came to a consensus that we want scouting to continue. We want to engage the kids because they're all stuck at home. So this would be a great time to do some non-academic activities and to really try and get some of these kids their next rank if possible, and definitely started on some of the merit badges, especially Eagle required merit badges. And so from that committee conversation that we came up with, we also, sorry, before I go back.
Yeah.
We also kind of took initiative and updated our merit badge applications with council, making sure that none of them had expired, and even adding to our list so that we could be more accessible to the kids. We realized we didn't have anyone on painting merit badge. This is a great time to paint. You know, we had kids asking for home repairs, and we didn't know. We did have someone, but, you know, just kind of some oddball things that we wanted to make sure we could deliver to the scouts when they asked. So those are kind of the two things we started on the weekends. And then one of our counselors set up a family life merit badge online. She's met with them on Monday, and then she's meeting again with them on Friday. And how she runs that merit badge classes is she does call on the scouts. So they're not just sitting at the kitchen table doing this. You know, they are watching on their phone or their computer, whatever device they're going to use, but she calls them out essentially and makes sure that they're participating in the merit badge experience and that they're accountable for what she's teaching them and what they're supposed to be responding with. And then we had a cookie merit badge started this week as well. And that was a little bit of death by PowerPoint because the first session was all about the safety that goes into it. And then there's a lot of food safety. So
just like, let me at the grill already, right? You know,
what's that?
Just let me at the grill.
Yeah, that, you know, the kids are chomping at the bit to make their menus and to start cooking, but the person running that merit badge is real good about emphasizing the safety aspects so that they don't just realize food is just something you cook, that you have to actually care for it. So those were kind of our big milestones. And again, from this committee meeting, I happen to live with one of the ASPLs, and so we planted the seed amongst all of us to try and come up with an online meeting format.
Oh, neat.
We're fortunate that one of our scouters does have a pro account to Zoom, so they can have the extended period of time, but I believe you can get 40 minutes through that. And if you're an educator, you actually can get the pro account for free. So I'm going to plug that. You can edit it later.
Nice. Yeah.
And so the 4 scouts, the 2 SPLs, the 2 ASPLs had a very interesting conversation on Zoom, really just working on different aspects and trying to figure out what they could do. They didn't try to fill the full meeting time, which I thought was a really practical decision for our scout-led units. They just wanted to get everybody engaged with something other than schoolwork and chores. That was kind of what turned out to be their goal. And so they ended up playing 2 games of Kahoot. We did have a few technical errors where the game kicked them out at one point, and some scouts couldn't figure out how to both be on Zoom and in Kahoot at the same time. So they all got some technology figured out on that.
Well, I think we're all experiencing some shortfalls from time to time until we get comfortable. Talk to me about the feedback from the scouts. Has it been positive overall, or what's sort of their reaction to this new world, and how are they coping?
I think they're really enjoying the newness of video conferencing. First of all, they get to see their friends, who some of them haven't seen in 2 weeks. Second of all, they're learning etiquette in each of the merit badge classes, and then the troop meeting, the how to video conference using your mute button unless you actually have something to say. And then I joked, I don't know if these will show up, but my daughter made these for one of her classes.
Oh, great idea.
When they ask a question, instead of kind of waiting for everybody to nod their head, she can just say, I have a question, and wait until she's called on. So that was one of her ideas that we're utilizing. So it's a lot of interesting things that are coming out of these meetings, and just watching the kids grow with the technology. I think it's really going to set them up, because they could be doing job interviews this way. They may be having their own meetings as an adult, and this just gives them that experience a little bit ahead of the curve in this unique time.
Yeah, absolutely. I often think this is a good time for us to sort of sharpen our axe right now, and then when we get out of this, we'll be that much more proficient in some of the technology. And so it's exciting. How have your parents been reacting? I'm sure they have makeshift classrooms on the other side of their walls, and how is scouting filling in for them?
I think scouting is giving them the kids something scouting is giving the scouts something different to do than watching a video or filling in a Google form or reading a chapter book, which happens to be the big themes in our house right now. Okay. It gives them that social interaction that they're not having right now by utilizing video conferencing. And I think it's just new enough, different enough, that it's still enjoyable.
Good. What's next for Troop 5268 over the next couple of weeks? Have you figured out another fun thing to do, or are you still working through the merit badge clinics?
So they are still working through the merit badge clinics. Family Life has another meeting on Friday. And then I think cooking is meeting again, although I don't know when yet. I guess we'll be surprised. And then I don't know what is in store for next week's meeting, but we are planning on hosting another Zoom meeting at our regular time. Our theme actually for March was aviation. And we have a scouter who does that aviation merit badge. So we're hoping to somehow get him to present his knowledge via Zoom for the scouts next week. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition. I've delegated that to someone else to look into, but that's our plan for next week, is do a little bit of the merit badge requirements for aviation for those scouts that were working on it before all of this happened.
Sure. Well, and if you can knock out a couple prerequisites here and there, you're going to be that much more for it. I think the important part in what I'm hearing is don't stop.
Right. Definitely.
Keep some momentum going. Would you encourage some of your fellow scouters out there that might be sort of wrestling with how to do this and where to get started? Like, what would be your feedback to them?
I would say just try something, even if it's just with your committee. See how this Zoom interface works. If you don't like it, try Google Hangouts. But I think it's really important that we stay connected to the kids. Some of these kids are in very different places right now, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. And just having the stability of seeing Scouters and seeing those people they know, even if it's once a week again, it just gives a sense of normalcy
Yeah.
to them, where they can check in. And as a teacher, I also check in with all of my students just to make sure they're doing okay. Some of them had to get jobs to help support their families,
Oh, wow.
so I just want to help and try and, just make sure they're okay, make sure I'm there for them. And I want to do the same thing with scouting. And this might be the way that we
Yeah.
do it, is we check in with all of those scouts 11 to 17 and a half, even your assistant scoutmasters who have aged out but are still part. You need to check in on them because they maybe have moved home from college.
Sure.
And they, their world's a little bit rocked upside down as well. And just that reassurance of a friendly face is really what we need to do here.
Awesome. Well, I think that's extremely important. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. For all of us out there, this is a new chapter for all of us, scouting and in our own personal life. And so as we acclimate, I think it's important to keep the flame, keep it going. My goal as far as our council, with our resources that we do have, is really, there's some great ideas and programs that a number of councils across the country are pulling together. And it seems like those just keep growing every day, whether it's at-home scouting or some other virtual merit badge topics or just different 30-day challenge. But I think it's important that, what we'll do is call all that information and try to keep it on our website, on our landing page as a resource for our leaders. But I think it's important that you dive into something just to keep the fire going, keep the flame going, as we've been saying. And as I said in an earlier email, when it's raining out, you have to work really, really hard to keep the fire going, even to keep a small little ember smoldering. And it feels like that's what we're doing right now. We got to work really, really hard to just keep a little bit of scouting going. But I know if we can do that now, that fire may rage later. So I appreciate everything you're doing. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the group before we sort of end this episode to keep the flame?
I guess if technology is an issue, you can always just do an old-fashioned phone chain, and actually play the game telephone. It's not quite as immediately interactive like scouts are used to, but somebody can send a message and call the next person and see how it changes or whatever. Something simple along those lines, but you're still checking in with those scouts and chit-chatting with them just to see how things go. But we're actually on an aside, we're actually hosting a board of review online tonight for one of our scouts. He just finished up right when everything was ending and we had to stop. He had finished his Scoutmaster conference and is waiting for first class, and we finally kind of figured out a good format to do this in. So that's my next conversation tonight is board of review.
I've heard the number of units and even districts doing board of reviews, Eagle board reviews on the district level in a virtual way. And I think that's extremely important. And if you really want to talk about keeping the momentum going for a young person, having them wait, that's eternity for a young person. Some of us, the time just flies, but I think that's awesome.
Well, and if you got kids that are the cardiac eagle, as we refer to it in our units, this is really hard. The however many weeks this is going to be may really negatively impact their ambition. And so being able to have these conversations and go over their packets face to face will help them achieve their goals. Help them get there. It won't be necessarily a rock in the path.
Right. Well, I think that's important. Well, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing a few thoughts, and we'll certainly keep in touch and try to get your feedback on how things go. And as we do more of this, we'll explore. And if you have thoughts and you want to let us know what you want to hear out there, that we can be providing you with content. I know our focus is going to sort of bounce between our programs, between Scouts BSA and Cub Scouts, to try to give a little bit to everybody. We have a lot of audiences, but it's important that we all stay connected and we show value and we keep our youth engaged right now as much as we possibly can. So I appreciate you, and I thank you all for the time that you're doing and giving to scouting. Richelle, thank you so much for your time today, and keep the flame lit, everybody, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure you hit the like or subscribe button below. And if you have an interesting story that helps us keep the flame lit, make sure you leave it in the comments below. Until then, keep the flame, keep it lit. We'll see you next time.